and welcome to Rain Francis Art. My name is Rain. Today I'm going to show you how to paint this splatter raven. So let's begin. This is what you'll need for today's painting. I'm using watercolor paper. You can use any paper that will receive water. I have the Strathmore watercolor cold press paper. It's 140 pounds. As for paint, I'm using this. The brand is pretty excellent. I love these paints. They're very, very vibrant. And as I always mention, whenever you have paints, do a swatch so you can see what the colors look like on your canvas. All right. I'm going to be using mostly reds and purple and black today. As for paintbrushes, I've got the usual three. I've got a number 4 round brush, a number 2 round brush, and a number 4 liner brush. Not sure I'm going to use them all, but I will put a list in the description below of what I end up using. I have a watercolor palette. I have some water, just a couple of dishes of water, some paper towel. I also have a used masking tape to frame my page, to frame my canvas. I've got this dollar store paintbrush, but that's just to wipe away dust and things like that. I have my stencil that I created, and I'll take a picture of this and I'll put a link in the description below where you can download it if you'd like, and you can print it out. And I've outlined my raven with Sharpie because later I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to apply graphite and transfer that onto my canvas, but I'm not going to do that just yet. I want to get some paint on for the background first. Okay, I think that's all I wanted to mention. So I'm going to begin. I'm going to be using, as my background, I'm going to be using Splatter. So I'm going to choose a dark red and a lighter red to do my splatter. So I'm going to choose this dark red here and this light red here. I'm sorry that I don't know what the names are. I did have that somewhere and I somehow lost it. I don't know what the names of the colors are, but it's a dark red and a lighter red. You can see by the swatches, that's dark and that's light. Okay, so those are the colors I'm going to be using. And I just wanted to give you a little tip here. When you're putting masking tape onto your canvas, this is optional if you want to frame it, don't use your fingers and push down because you'll burn your fingers, and that's the truth. Don't try it. You know, it's like when you go to a restaurant and the waiter or the waitress says, "Your plate's hot." A lot of the times we go to see, like, why do we do that? So just because I'm telling you you'll burn your finger, don't try it. Use a cloth and push it down that way. That way your tape is very well secured. No water can leak underneath, hopefully. You'll have a nice frame and you won't have burned your fingers. Okay, so let me set myself up here and we can begin. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of water into one of the compartments of my palette, just with my largest paintbrush that I have here, which is the number 4 round. Just adding some water. Okay. Now don't do this over your canvas. I'm only doing this so that you can see what I'm doing because you don't want to make a mess of your canvas. I'm going to take, with a wet brush, I'm going to go into that dark red color here and I'm going to load up my paintbrush. This is my number 4 round brush, and I'm just going to add paint. I want to have a nice deep red color here. Okay, and with that I'm going to load up my paintbrush like this, tap it so that I don't have really big drops of red all over the place, and I'm going to splatter using just another paintbrush or a pencil or whatever you want. Just splatter. Let me move my water out of the way. And off camera, I'm just loading my brush up again with some more of that paint, tapping a couple of times, and doing it again. This does splash. I just got some on my arm, so don't wear white. Loading up my brush, tapping, and splattering. Oh, I just got some on my face. I have to be careful I don't get any on the camera here. I gotta wipe my face off. Hold on a second. That's crazy. I felt it hit my lip. Let me just get a wet paper towel. That's crazy. All right, no need for lipstick today. I'm just going to clean off my brush. Get all that dark red off there. I could have started with the light red, I guess. And I'm going to do the same thing in the next compartment. I'm going to put some fresh water, some fresh clean water in there. Sorry, I'm doing this off camera. Just a little bit of water there. And I'm going to take that lighter red color with a wet brush. And I'm going to load up my brush. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put it into that compartment on my palette that has the water in it. I'm just loading up my brush off camera here. I'm going to add more of that color in there. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing. I load up my brush, tap it a couple of times to make sure I get huge drops off, and start to splatter. The harder you hit your brush, the more you're going to splash your arm. Just to let you know. Loading up my brush again, tapping it, and splatter. All right, so we have to let that dry for a little bit. I'm going to clean off my paintbrush. Try to get all that red off it for now. And while this is drying, I'm going to mix a few colors. Now I'm going to take some, put this here, that'll be easier. On another palette compartment here, I'm going to put some water, not much, just a little bit, okay? I don't have enough room to show you everything. Now I'm going to take some purple, and I want a nice light purple, so I'm going to take this one here, load up my brush with that purple, and I'm going to transfer it to the compartment of my palette. There, that's a nice purple. I'm going to load up my brush off camera and add more pigment to that water. Okay? And in the next compartment, I'm not going to bother cleaning off my brush. I'm just going to add some more water because I'm going to be putting black there. And off camera, I'm just going into my black. I think it'll be easier that way. And I'm just putting in some black. Just like that. And over here, I'm going to mix a little bit. The tiniest amount of black. Cleaning off my brush because I want all that black off the brush. And I'm going to take purple. I've got basically a ratio of 4 dots of purple to 1 dot of black, and let's see what that looks like. I could take a little more black. That's a very deep purple there. That's really nice. So I'm going to use that for the raven. Okay, that's great. So I've got my colors mixed up. My hound dog is awake. You gonna drink your water, Jack? My dogs are so funny. When they want to go drink their water, they look at me for approval, you know? Is it okay? All right, let's take a look at this. Some of my splatters are still a little bit wet. So I'm going to take out my hairdryer and go over this on the cold setting just to make sure that it dries. I think that's dry. One way that you know is if anything is shiny, it's probably still wet. And if you suspect that it's still wet, wait. Or just keep applying the hairdryer to dry it, because we're going to be putting our stencil on top of this and we don't want to smudge anything. So I'm pretty sure that everything is dry. Just taking a second look. Okay. And this is my stencil. I'm going to put down just a piece of white paper on top so that I don't, mess up my canvas. I wouldn't suggest you do this the way I'm doing it. The only reason I'm doing it is so you can see what I'm doing. So I've just got a regular graphite pencil, and I'm just going to go ahead and apply graphite everywhere I see that Sharpie. And I guess I'm applying quite a bit. I want to make sure this works. It usually works, but if you don't have enough graphite on your stencil, you won't be able to transfer it. Or half of it might get transferred and the other won't, and then you've kind of got a mess on your hands. So let's make sure that we can get this transferred well by making sure there's quite a bit of graphite. Using a Sharpie, it helps so much, because then you don't have to apply graphite all over the page. You can actually see the stencil. But if you're drawing and you've created a drawing that you want to transfer that has a lot of details, it's an intricate design or something like that, I would suggest using graphite transfer paper. I have some of that I normally use, but I want to make sure that I can show you how to do things without spending a lot of money too. Because art supplies can be very expensive. All right, so I've got graphite covering everywhere I see my Sharpie. I hope I didn't ruin my... Oh, my canvas is okay. And I'm looking at the back. There's no red on there, so my canvas was completely dry, thank goodness. Now I'm going to turn this around and place it right in the middle. All right, now just so it doesn't move around too much, I'm going to tape it on the top. Now, the only reason I'm taping it is because there's already masking tape there. I would not tape this to my canvas because there's a possibility that you could pull up some of the paint. If you've got a steady hand, you don't have to tape it. Now you just take a sharp pencil, this is just a mechanical pencil, and go over your canvas. Go over your stencil, that is, onto your canvas. And you can check. to make sure that it's working. It's very faint, so I'm going to have to press down a little harder. Let me see. Yeah, it's super, super faint here. It'll be okay for me. I'll be able to see it. You might not be able to see it, though. Okay. And I suppose you could have done this before splattering, because it is going to be darker. Alright, I got it. I think I got it all. Alright. It may be hard for you to see it, but it definitely transferred. I can see the outline here. So what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to be using my liner brush right now. And I wanted to show you the liner. I see I have red all over me. The liner brush here looks like this. And it doesn't really look like it can be a liner brush. But if you add a little water and you shape it, it comes to a really nice fine point. Almost like using a fine tip marker. All right, so because my canvas is dry, I'm going to put my palette here. I don't suggest you do that, but I'm doing it so that you can see what I'm doing. Now I'm going to, my liner brush is wet, so I'm going to go into that purpley black color that I created, that I mixed together. And I'm going to do the outline of the raven. I love this liner brush. It really is like using an ink pen. You have to get used to the pressure you put on it, because the harder you press, the darker your line will be. I can't multitask when I'm doing detail work, so I'm just going to quietly finish this up. As my hound dog snores in the background to serenade you, if you can hear it. I'm straying a little bit from the stencil. My stencil, the way I drew it, there were a lot of round edges on the wings. I'm making them more pointy because I think that's what a raven looks more like. Another obvious reason why you want your canvas to be dry is because, you know, I'm using my hand to guide me here. And I don't want to smudge all my beautiful splatters. As you can see as well, you don't need a lot of paint. Watercolor paint goes a long way. For me, it's the most frugal medium, besides graphite pencils, but you know, for painting, that is. I like acrylic too, but I find that the canvas is just so expensive now. I can't really afford it anymore. Alright, so I've got my outline of my raven. I'm just going to clean off my brush here. And with my liner brush, anytime I clean it off, I always reshape it. I may use it again, but I'm not sure. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my number 4 brush. I guess I'm not using the number 2 brush today. So I've got the number 4 brush, and I'm going to go into that light purple. And I'm just going to do wet on dry and give that a little wash color here. I may have to go in with my liner brush to get the fine details, but I'm going to try here. That's just the regular purple. I'm going to be doing multiple layers, okay? So it looks very light right now, but I'm going to be drying it in between. Did I say draw or dry? I meant dry if I said draw. I'm going to be drying it in between layers with my hair dryer. Some of that red is bleeding a little, but that's okay because our raven is going to be very dark. When I had this idea, I mean, I didn't know what I was going to do. I actually didn't know what I was going to do until I set the camera up today. My neighbor is building a house and on his land. He's got his hammers out today, his pneumatic drill. So you might hear that in the background too. Not much I can do about that. I need a little more purple, so just off camera I'm gonna put a little more purple onto my palette. I don't have enough hands to do all of this on camera, but I think you guys can figure it out. The reason I've decided to do a raven today was because I have a blog, rainfrancis.com or rainfrancisart.com. The links are all below or in the About section of this channel. And every Thursday I host an art date. Well, now it's an art and dinner date, which is kind of fun. People participate and they link in their blog posts with either art or food. And it's a nice, wonderful community of people. And this week I have an optional prompt. I provide prompts if you need some ideas or if you want to be challenged. And this week's prompt is a poem. And I am a huge Edgar Allan Poe fan. So my poem that I chose this week was The Raven. And I drew a Bugs Bunny as the man in the poem, the raven. And he looks pretty scared. That'll be on my blog on Thursday. I usually post it Wednesdays. I post it the day before, so please check that out if you want to join in on the fun. Get some recipe ideas. I'm posting a photo of a potato and Gruyere cheese pie that I made, or tart. Delicious. That noise you just heard was my other dog, and her name is actually Raven. So every time I'm talking about this painting, she looks up. She thinks I'm calling her. All right, I've got my first layer on here. And it doesn't matter if one section is darker than the other. It doesn't matter because I'm doing layers. All right, I'm just wiping off my brush and I'm going to just reshape it while I dry this. All right, let's see. That's dry. Okay, I'm going to take my number 4 brush and I'm actually going to put a little more purple pigment in here, just off camera. I've wet my brush, loading up my paintbrush with that purple color, and I'm putting more in there with a little more water. And I'm going to go over the whole thing again. You okay, Raven? And the reason why I'm going over it again is because I want the layers to have some kind of depth. As I add layers, the parts that were lighter will be a little lighter and they will remain a little lighter even if I put some darker pigment on there. Hopefully. And in the corners here, I guess they're corners, little edges, so I'm just tapping. Because I want some of the pigment to be a little darker in some areas. So I tap. The ends might be a little darker. All right. I'm just going to continue on doing this. Tapping at the end to make sure that the darker color reaches the tips of those wings. And what's interesting is I'm kind of doing a wet on wet technique there because it's already wet and I'm applying just little taps of wet paint. So watercolor paint will always follow water. I have puddles here. I'm moving those puddles. I don't want puddles. They'll take forever to dry. So yeah, watercolor paint always follows water. So as I tap, I know it's not going to bleed out of the wing. All right, looking good. I'm adding a little more water and a little more purple pigment because I'm using quite a bit of this. All right, I'm going to do the same thing over here. Fill that in and then tap the end. Well, that has enough there. I don't have to tap. We don't have many ravens in this area, but we do have a lot of crows. They actually hang out on my front lawn. Every morning I see about a dozen of them. I think they're looking for worms or slugs. I don't know what they eat. I know they eat from my bird feeder. They knock it down all the time. They're too big. They don't know their own strength. Okay. Let's finish this up here. Okay, so that layer's done. Okay, I'm going to dry that layer. Okay, so this layer is dry. There's a little spot here that's still wet, but that's okay. I don't mind that at all. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a lot of water into that black. And I'm going to do a nice black wash over the entire raven. This one I'm going to try to do as evenly as possible. You see, when you let your painting dry in between layers, you get that transparency. If you just went ahead and put the black on without letting the layers dry, then everything would have mushed all together. I'm not doing the tips just yet, because I would like to have an even wash over the body of the raven. I'm just going to call it the bird from now on so that my dog doesn't keep looking up at me every time I say the R word. She's so sweet. I've only had her for a month and a half now. She fits in perfectly. Okay, see, it's a little more even with all of the layers together. It all, I meant, see, I cannot multitask, cannot speak when I'm doing detail. What I meant to say was, it looks nice when all the layers come together. And we're not done yet. There's going to be plenty more layers on this one until I'm happy with what I'm doing. You might be happy already with what you're doing, and that's okay. You can stop whenever you like. I want to make sure that I'm very happy with this. All right, getting there. Gonna need to prepare some more black for the next layer. Okay, so once again, just wiping off my brush. reaching down and getting that hair dryer. So this layer is dry. I'm going to add some more black pigment here. I want a nice dark black here. So not quite a light wash like I applied here. I'm going to see what happens. I don't want to wash out all of my purple. So let me see. I'll try a little bit here. It's not going to wash out the purple. I do want my raven to be black though, but I wanted some of that purple to sort of show and complement the black a little bit. Because I could have just taken some acrylic paint and done it all in black. But I was trying to get a little bit of transparency here. And again, I'll do the tips at the end. I almost went outside the line there. I wasn't careful. If you feel you need more water, just add more water. I think I need more water here. All right, now I'm just going to go in and do the tips again. I'm just adding a little water to make sure that's all nicely blended, because I don't want to see any lines of black. You know how when we first started there were obvious lines. I don't want that to show now, so I might have to take my liner brush because that part of the wing here is a little too round for my liking. I want to get that pointy again. This one too. The reason is because I'm trying to make this as camera friendly as possible, and it's hard for me to paint like this. Usually I move my canvas all over the place when I'm painting. So I've got my number 4 liner brush, and I just want to make that a little more pointy there. I'm going to go right into my black, actually. Just dipping right into the black, because that needs to be a little darker. And this one too is sort of became lopsided. These are all okay. This one could be a little pointier. This is just detail you could do at the end if you want. This one too. It's not pointy anymore. I may have to come in at the end and fix all those things up because I want to have the beak Looking a little pointier as well. Ooh, I've got the shaky hands. Okay. I'm going to dry that as well. Okay, I think I'm only going to be doing 2 more layers, and one of them is going to be purple. That purple and black here. I'm going to grab some of this purple. I might need a little more. So I'm going, just off camera, I'm going back into my purple color and I'm loading up my brush. And I'm adding purple here. And I'm going to take some of that black too. Actually, I've got 2 now. And I'm going in and I'm going to do the entire bird again with that purple and black mix. But again, I'll leave the tips to the last, because I would like to get a nice evenish wash all over this bird. See how nice the layers are? You know, and it's not, I like using watercolor because you get all that transparency underneath and you can see bits of purple and black everywhere, you know? It's not just one solid purple color or one solid black color. That's what I really like about watercolor. All right, this is looking nice. Okay, I'm just adding some regular purple there. I'm just kind of playing around with color a little bit here. So I'm going to take my liner brush and I'm going to do those edges. Actually, I think I need to make, I'm running out of color here, so I'm going to add some more purple and some more black. Oh, that's a lot of black. I need more purple in there. Maybe a little more purple. Okay, that's better. All right. Let me grab my liner brush here. And I'm just going to go in and do the beak with shaky fingers and shaky hands. That's crazy. I don't even drink coffee. I drink decaf. There. Okay. I'm going to go in and do each one. And what I'm doing is I'm kind of pulling it up a little bit and tapping because I don't want there to be an obvious line where I stopped adding color to these wings. I want it to really blend nicely. I'm being really careful. I don't want to... I actually just got a little bit of purple on my the palm of my hand, so I have to be careful. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of water here to blend this. Just blending it up. Right onto this side. I actually might stop after this. I think this looks pretty nice. I like the combination of purple and black. But I'm not done with the painting. I still have some splatter to do. I always add, wow, lost my voice there. I always add splatter. I can't help myself. Okay, so I'm getting my brush a little wet and I'm just blending here. There. I think that looks really, really nice. Mixes of black and purple. I'm going to use my hair dryer again because I would like to get this dry. I do have a little puddle here that I'm going to wipe up. And you see what happened? It pulled some of the pigment off there. So I'm just going to grab some of that black color and dab. But I'm not creating a puddle here. Okay. All right. Now I'm trying something. I'm not sure how it's going to look, but I'm going to try it. I'm going to take some of my black and purple again. I'm just going to put this here. I don't know. You won't be able to see it, I don't think. Maybe. So I'm going to take, I do have some here, but I'm going to take a little bit more purple and put it into that black. Okay. Let me move this. Now I'm all ready to go, but what I want to do is I want to create some splatter. But the splatter that I'm creating, I just want it to be from the wings down. So I'm just taking a scrap piece of paper and I'm just going to put this over my canvas here. And I'm going to splatter all down here. And I'm using that same method. Loading up my brush, tapping to get the big pieces off, and off I go. Oh, are you okay, honey? Are you okay? I'm just loading up my brush again. I want more splatter right around the bird. Yes, I almost said your name, Raven. Picking up more pigment and then putting more splatter right around the bird. I'm doing it again, picking up more of that paint just around the bird. I'm doing this until I'm happy with it, so I'd say stop when you're happy. All right, I want to see what that looks like before I mix some more paint. It's not too bad. I would like to have a little more though. And I'm gonna do this because there's an area here around the wing that I would like to have a little bit more splatter, but I have to mix some more up. So I'm just grabbing a little purple and I'm gonna have to move this to get to my black here. and I'm adding black. So here we go, some more splatter around this wing here. There, that's good. Just loading up my brush again. That's what I'm looking for, a very concentrated splatter. Okay, I'm going to move this over here and work on this side here. And if you're curious what I'm doing, I'm just loading up my brush with that black purple, tapping it a little, and then going for it. One more time, just around the tail. There we go. Okay, let's see if Rain is happy with this. Yes, I am. I'm definitely happy with that. That's kind of the look I was going for. I wanted there to be a lot of dark splatter around the raven with just some light splatter everywhere else. So now the fun part. Not that this wasn't fun, but the unveiling. All right, let's pull all that masking tape off. All right. Awesome. Oh, I bumped my camera there. Sorry about that. Let me steady that a little bit. So that's our raven, our splatter raven. I hope that you enjoyed this painting today. I thought it was a lot of fun. If you did, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate that. And leave me a comment. I love to read your comments. I'd love to know if you tried this painting, if you enjoyed it. What colors did you use? Did you splatter as much as I did? Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time, my friends. Bye!